welcome to Lancaster VegFest. You guys having a good time? Yay, so glad to hear. My name is Hallie, and I am so excited and genuinely honored to be here. I'm from here, Lancaster County, born and raised. I currently live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with my partner Joey and our adorable puppy Lemon. As some of you may or may not know, in 2018, my mom suddenly died from a heart attack, her first heart attack, and she was only 49 years old. And after that, I was left very confused, lost, sad, depressed, and completely not hopeful about life going forward. I knew that I needed to change something in my life, but I didn't really know where to start. And thankfully, in 2019, I found whole food plant-based nutrition, which led me to reevaluate my entire eating habits and my lifestyle for the better. And since then, I've seen drastic changes in my overall health and well-being, as well as so many others that I love around me that have decided to incorporate this into their lives. So today, I want to show you how to eat more plants, because my goal every day is to eat as many different plants as possible. So I'm going to show you how to make plant-packed smoothie, a plant-packed cowboy caviar, which is a preppable lunch, and some plant-based taco night ideas. And yeah, so let's get started. So we're going to start off with smoothies, and if anybody has any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out during this. I'd love to talk about this. So I'm going to start off with a smoothie, and we're going to start off with putting a little bit of water in the bottom. This is great for anybody that doesn't have a high-speed blender. This helps all the frozen fruit and everything move a lot easier in your blender. That way you don't have to fight with it when you first start. So just a little bit of water there on the bottom. And next we're gonna go in with some banana. Banana and dates. I love to use bananas and dates. I use both of these as sweeteners. So you can use one or the other, or you can use both. I like to use both. Just make sure that you take the pits out of the date before you put them into the smoothie. Next, we have oranges. So this is an orange or a clementine, whichever one works best for you, whichever one you have on hand. I like to cut mine in 4 and then just peel it off of the outside from here. So just like this. Oranges are awesome to pair with greens. So if you or anybody that you love has a iron deficiency or anything like that, combining greens and vitamin C, so that would be like with an orange or bell peppers or anything like that, boosts your iron absorption. So anybody that's iron deficient, which I know that is a very common ailment, definitely start doing this. Next, we have our greens, as I just mentioned. So you can use any dark leafy green in here. I today am using dandelion greens. The only dark leafy green that I suggest that you don't put into your smoothies is mustard greens. I've done that before and they taste like pepper and it's not good. So stay away from mustard greens for smoothies, but everything else, all the other greens, very welcome in here. Kale, collard greens, arugula, anything like that. The other type of green that is not so green that I'm adding into here is red cabbage. So this is just some chopped red cabbage. It's another great way to get those greens in for your day, and it blends right in so you really don't taste anything. My next ingredient is beets. So our beets are, I personally did not like beets when I was growing up. Had some PTSD with seeing beets in a butter container when I would open up the fridge. So I recently started eating beets again and putting them into my smoothies because I know they are so great for us, packed with so many phytonutrients and incredible for our skin and your gut health and so many things. Beets are a superfood. So I like to steam them and put them into my smoothies directly. It helps with the creaminess of the smoothie, and surprisingly, the taste of the beets really just disappears. A if you are somebody that has access to a whole bushel of beets, like a big, just a handful of them, you can cut up all of these and then put them into the, you can cut them all up, steam them, and then put them into the blender and make ice cubes out of it. That way you have beets for the next few months rather than having to cook beets every week or something like that for your prep for your smoothie. You can also do that with greens, any like wilted greens. It's really great to make little ice cubes out of those that you can add right in here. I just realized we don't have the frozen fruit out here. Wow, I don't know if I brought it. That's okay. Yes. All right, so normally I put a bunch of frozen fruit in here as well. I like to do berries and mangoes. Those are my favorite, but unfortunately I forgot the frozen fruit. But we have everything else in here, and so I would put the frozen fruit right on top, and the last ingredient are some seeds. So I have chia seeds, hemp seeds, ground flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, and cinnamon. So we're putting all of these in here. They're great for, I know everybody is obsessed with protein. There's protein in these. There's great magnesium, zinc. The ground flax seeds are amazing for cramps if anybody's dealing with that. It's also great for releasing tension during labor and delivery. So highly recommend both ground flax seeds and dates do that. So after I have everything in here, you can either add water and or some sort of plant milk. I like to do a little bit of both. Right now I have soy milk. I personally like to use soy milk just because it has a little extra nutrients than some of the other plant milks, and soy is incredible for us. If you don't know, a lot of people stay away from soy because they're afraid of the word estrogen and thinking that is cancer promoting. Thankfully, phytoestrogen is actually what is in soy, and that is cancer killing. So we actually have it completely wrong. So soy it up, everybody. So in this blender, I don't have to put so much liquid. I can get away with just about a little under halfway full. If you have a regular blender, not a high-speed blender, I highly suggest that you put more liquid into it, maybe covering it at least halfway, maybe 3/4. But yeah, so I'm just gonna throw some extra liquid in here. Put my cap on top, and I'm gonna start blending. And something that I wanna mention before I blend is that I like to start off on like a lower speed and then increase my speed over time. So. Blended very easy because it does not have frozen fruit in it. But normally that might take at least like 30 seconds. So after this is done, then I normally just pour it right into a glass. And something I do want to say, so I am all about reducing my waste, and all of the glasses in my house are old sauce containers. I take off the lid, I take off the labels, and I make them into these cute little mason jar glasses. So highly recommend doing that if you don't already at home. But here's our beautiful pink smoothie. Some other ingredients that I do love to add into these are kiwis. And when I do kiwis, I don't put the skin on. I mean, I keep the skin on, so I don't bother taking them off. Same thing with beets, I don't take the skin off of that either. I also love to add just any type of like cherries or any type of fruit that you like. Everything works well in smoothies, so don't hesitate. Definitely just get into experimenting, and your taste buds will thank you, and your body will thank you. So the next thing that we're going to make is a lunch. So I'm just going to do a little transition, and then we're going to get into that. All right, so the next recipe that I'm going to be making is called cowboy caviar on the internet, but I genuinely think that it's more of like Middle Eastern flavors and Mediterranean flavors. So Call it what you want, but this is cowboy caviar according to the internet. I'm gonna start off with a big mixing bowl. I love to do all of my mixing of what after I'm done cutting veggies. I like to just put everything in a bowl. That's how I season everything. So big mixing bowls are great for your plant-based kitchen. We are going to start off with some red onion. So the red onion here, it's just chopped up very small. And I'm gonna put some in here. The next ingredient is tomatoes. So these are just some chopped grape tomatoes. I recently started eating grape tomatoes instead of cherry tomatoes because they're they're more of an oval shape instead of a circle. I just think that it's a little easier to use. It doesn't really explode as cherry tomatoes do sometimes when you're cutting them. So those are my tomatoes of choice. I also have some cucumber here. So we're gonna throw all of this cucumber in. I leave the skins on all of my cucumbers. There's so many nutrients in there. In fact, that's where most of our cucumber nutrients come from, is in the skin. So leave that on. The next thing that I put in here are chopped bell peppers. So these bell peppers are orange, red, and yellow. If you don't like green bell peppers, which I feel like that's what a lot of us are exposed to, I highly suggest that you try some of these colored ones. They're so much tastier. They don't have like a bitter taste as green bell peppers do. And something that I recently learned is that green bell peppers are just not ripe red bell peppers. So the same thing. So I'm just gonna throw these in here. Next, I'm going to put in some navy beans and chickpeas. So I like to use any type of beans. I'm a bean person, and if you are plant-based, I hope you are also a bean person. If not, let's try to work those in slowly but surely. So I have chickpeas and navy beans here. Chickpeas are super high in antioxidants. They're actually the second highest bean in antioxidants, second to lentils. And navy beans are super high in iron. So I'm gonna throw all of these in here. And you can use canned beans, or if you wanna cook them yourself. If you're using the canned beans, I highly suggest that you rinse and drain them before you put them on everything. Next, I have some kale. So this can go any dark leafy green, as I said before with the smoothies. This time I'm using kale. You can use mustard greens in this one because you're not going to be blending them. And this kale is red kale, according to the label. I like to call it purple kale because it's purple. And the last ingredient before we get to our other spices is cilantro. This is I would say a optional ingredient because I know that there is a lot of aversion to cilantro, and that's totally normal, but I love cilantro, so I like to put that in there. And this is actually cilantro from my garden. If anybody likes to garden, I would love to talk to you about that sometime, so please come to my table afterward. So that's all of our large ingredients, and now we're gonna get to our spices. And I say large ingredients because spices and herbs are really just ground up other plants. So everything's plants, it's just what form that they're in. So we're gonna start off with some garlic powder. We love garlic powder over here. And I'm actually gonna put everything into this, this mixing bowl first. So we're gonna start off with some garlic powder. And I like to do a heavy hand of that. Garlic powder in everything. And some nutritional yeast. And some cumin. And for those of you that don't know, and it's totally okay if you don't know, but cumin is like that main flavor in taco seasonings. So think that. And then we have chipotle. So this is an optional spice, but I love this, and highly suggest if you are near like this is from Whole Foods, but any type of grocery store that has spices, Chipotle is actually just smoked red jalapenos. So it's not like a Chipotle sauce or anything like that. This is a whole plant food as well. So I like to throw a little bit in there. A little bit goes a long way. And we're gonna also add some salt and pepper. But I like to, if I'm cooking salt, something that I do wanna mention about salt is that if you're cooking with salt, I highly suggest that you just put the salt on after you're done cooking, because the taste of salt actually cooks out of your food. So you always have to end up putting salt on at the end anyway. So just wait until the end to put it on. But that's only when you're cooking. So right now, I'm gonna throw it in. Next, we're gonna go in with red wine vinegar. So red wine vinegar, great for your gut health, great for just adding different microbes, feeding different microbes that are in there. We're gonna do 1/4 cup of this. So 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. And then I'm gonna take a spoonful. So if you know me and my recipes, I don't like using measuring tools. So I'm doing a lot of spoonful things all the time. So I'm gonna do a spoonful of balsamic vinegar. And I'm also going to do a spoonful of flax oil. You can do any type of oil. You don't need to put oil in it. I just put a little bit in. And we're just going to mix this all together. Oh, and the last ingredient for that is water. Do you still have that water? Thank you. So we're gonna put a 1/4 cup of water in here, and that just helps to spread everything out. When I first started cooking, I was a little weary about using water in things, but I realized that that just helps you spread out the flavor. It helps to add to the marinade. That way you're not having to use so many of your other ingredients. Water is free. So I'm just mixing this up here. A nice little marinade. And I'm gonna pour it right over top of these raw veggies. And give everything a nice mix. These are just 2 wooden spoons from my kitchen. Just gonna mix this up, get the flavor all over everything. And this is an awesome meal preppable lunch. So sometimes I will make this and then I will put it, well, most times I make this and then I put it into a container and leave it in the fridge. And then I eat it a couple of different ways throughout the week. So I'm gonna show you how I make them. I like to sometimes just straight up eat it with chips. It's a really great like salsa type of thing. Another way that I like to eat it is in pita pockets. So this is a whole pita. For those of you who have never cooked with one, I have been there, so that's why I'm taking the time to show that. So this is a whole pita, and what do you do with this? You cut it down the center, and then that opens up and makes 2 little pita pockets. So I'm just gonna take my knife, cut it right down the center here, and now you have 2 pitas. So they are very flimsy, so I highly suggest handle with care. You wanna carefully open this up. I like to toast mine in the air fryer or in the toaster oven or something like that before I fill up my pita pocket, but don't have that right now, so I'll show you how to do it without. And I like to take some hummus and put that right on the inside of the pocket. And this hummus that I have right now is roasted pine nut hummus. Very good. I had never tried it before, but we got it a few weeks ago, and now this is our hummus of choice. I was always a garlic hummus person. So just gonna spread a little bit of hummus in there, and then we are going to come with our cowboy caviar. Fill that right in there. Something else I like to do if I have a little bit of extra time is add some falafel to it. So I have some right here next to me. I have some air fried falafel. This I got at the grocery store. You can also make your own falafel at home. Falafel is just chickpeas and spices fried into these little balls. So I like to get these at the grocery store though. They're from, I think the brand is called Afia, A-F-I-A, and great to just crumble right into here. So I put these right on top. And then sometimes I'll top it with hummus, or I'll just stick a little bit more of the veggies on top of it. Or I've also done some oat milk tzatziki. That is a really good one. But yeah, so this is the pita pocket. It's delicious. I wish I could give each of you one of these right now. But that's where we're at with that. So this is one way that I like to eat this. So that's either with chips or with that. Or I also like to make them with naan. So naan is another one of these flatbreads, similar to pita. And the way I like to use the naan is not by cutting it. I just put some hummus right on top of it, and then I put the veggies in and I roll it up, and you make just like a naan sandwich. So very simple, very similar to the pitas, but just a little different, and whatever you have on hand. So that just goes to show, even if you have just regular bread, you can make little sandwiches out of this, whatever. This can really go on so many different things. And if you have any other ideas for it, I'd be happy to hear. But yeah, and some other things you can add into this, I just want to mention, is some corn would be really good in here. Any type of, what else could be good? Oh, any type of rice. So that was my other thing. I want to show you guys how I build a bowl with this. So I like to take rice, and before I continue, this rice is a mix of brown rice, white jasmine rice, and buckwheat. So buckwheat is a whole grain and brown rice is a whole grain. I highly recommend that we all start eating more whole grains. It's incredible for our gut health, incredible for our energy levels. There's so much fiber in there, so much greatness that comes from eating whole grains. So do not shy away from eating those carbs and things like that. I know a lot of people get a little weary when it comes to rice and pasta and things like that, but if you're eating so many plants, you need to also be eating that, and it helps you stay full. So don't shy away from it. So here I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this brown rice and buckwheat in there, and the brown rice, the buckwheat, quinoa, millet, any of those types of whole grains, they all just cook like regular rice. I make mine in the rice cooker. I just put a cup to a cup. If it's a whole grain, maybe like a cup and a half of water, and then I just stick it on I just hit go on my rice cooker, and then it cooks it. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this, spoon it on top. I also love to top this with some falafel. You don't have to have the falafel, but if you have it on hand, it's always a great ingredient to add. And then I like to take a spoon. Where's my dirty spoon? Oh, here it is. I like to take a spoon and take a big dollop of hummus and stick it right on top. This is one of my favorite lunches, and it's so quick to make, so easy, so simple. I always have like pre-made rice on hand, so I just stick that in the microwave for a couple of minutes, maybe put a little bit of water with it so it doesn't dry out the rice. And then I just put the raw ingredients on top, the hummus, and boom, a delicious lunch. So that's what I have to show you for cowboy caviar, and we're going to move into plant-based taco night ideas next. So just give me a minute to set that up. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to show you is a dinner idea, which I think this is a pretty universal dinner for everybody, is taco night. I think everybody likes Taco Tuesday, all of that kind of stuff, or Taco Thursday. So I just want to give you a couple ideas of how you can add more plants to your taco night. So I am actually going to cook a little bit for this one. And I'm going to start off with peppers, onions, and mushrooms. So when I am making peppers and onions for tacos and fajitas, things like that, I like to cut my peppers and onions long ways. Hopefully you guys can see that. Just a long ways. It's just, you know, when you get them at restaurants, they're cut long ways. So when you're at home, cut them long ways. So I like to first start off with a little bit of oil. And what I'm going to say about oil is that we do not need it, all right? We can have it, we can use a little bit of it, but it is not a necessity. There is nothing that we need in oil. With that being said, I like to put a drop of oil into my pan. I don't always do this, but because I don't have the ability to wash my pan right away, I am just going to show you with a little bit of oil. Otherwise, I normally just put a splash of water and let that heat up before I put my veggies in. But I'm just doing a little, that was even a lot, but just a little quarter size of oil. And to get that all around the pan, I just swish it around. Hopefully you can see that on the recording. And it goes all over the pan. So you don't need to be zhuzhing and glugging your whole pan with oil. So once that heats up, I'm going to throw the peppers and onions in there, as well as some mushrooms. But I'm gonna wait until the peppers and onions cook down just a little bit. Something I can also mention is that I cook with green pan, and this is not sponsored, but I use green pans. My mother-in-law got them for me, and I've been obsessed ever since. I actually just got this new purple one that I'm really excited about. But green pan is a great resource. Green pan and All Clad, companies like that, they make their cookware without harmful chemicals and Teflon and stuff like that. And when your pans get scratched, these are a lot less toxic for you than if a Teflon pan would get scratched and you're trying to continue to cook on it. But if your pans are scratched, I highly recommend just getting new ones to save yourself. So just gonna let those cook down a little bit and gonna show you how I make the rest of this. So I have quinoa tofu and quinoa tofu taco meat. This has been a big hit everywhere that I've taken it to, and everybody always asks me for the recipe, so I figured I'd bring it here. I just take quinoa and I put it into my rice cooker, as I said before. Every time I'm cooking a whole grain, it just goes right into my rice cooker. And then as that's cooking, I take tofu and I just break it up with my hands so it goes into like crumbles. And I put that into a bowl, like a big mixing bowl like I had over there. And then I put seasonings, taco seasonings in there. So instead of using like the taco seasoning packet, I use spices like garlic and nutritional yeast and cumin and smoked paprika or regular paprika. Chili powder is great in there, things like that. So rather than using the taco seasoning blend, you can just make the blend yourself. So after I'm done putting the tofu and the spices into the bowl, I put the cooked quinoa into the bowl, and I add about a half a cup to a cup of salsa. Mix all of that together, and then I lay it out on a sheet pan, stick it in the oven for 20 minutes, and boom, you have taco quinoa meat, tofu quinoa meat. So that is a great filler if you don't want to do the peppers and onions. When Joey and I do peppers and onions, we won't always do the tofu taco meat. Those are kind of like two separate things if we're cooking the peppers and onions. Then we do like raw peppers and onions with the tofu. So I'm just adding these mushrooms, and I want to say about mushrooms, I used to not be a fan for a very long time, and I learned that that's because the mushrooms were too big. I like mushrooms when they're cut small and kind of used as like flavoring and things like that, and not the main big ingredient. I know I'm like a texture person, so mushrooms can get a little weird with texture when they're too big, but they taste amazing. So, and they're so good for you. So I do like to still add them in, and I learned that if you put them small, then they're a lot more tolerable. And that goes with anything. Any new food that you're trying, I highly suggest that you just cut it up a lot smaller than what you normally would see at a restaurant or at your home or anything like that. So, with the tacos, I am going to be showing you how to make Crunchwraps. But before I get into that, I do want to show you how to make a taco bowl very, very simply. So we just start off with some rice. Again, this is the brown rice, jasmine rice, and buckwheat. And if you can see on the screen there, I'm not sure how good you can see there, the buckwheat is very small. It's just like these little balls. So it's a little bit bigger than quinoa, but still the same concept, similar concept. Next, I go in with my quinoa taco meat. So I'm gonna scoop some of that right on top of there. And next up is black beans. So I like to season my black beans. You can cook them and season them, or you can just leave them like out of the can after you drain and rinse them. Just season them, and they're delicious. And then I like to add peppers and onions if I'm not doing cooked ones. So these are raw peppers and raw onions and raw tomatoes. Again, the grape tomatoes are my favorite. And I hope you guys try them and think about me. Oh, that was a lot of tomato. It's fine. And I love cilantro, so we're gonna put a little bit of cilantro on here. And last but certainly not least, I like to top all of my tacos with lettuce of some sort. I today chose spring mix and spinach mix. That is my kind of go-to, and according to my niece, this is the good lettuce for tacos. She refuses to eat tacos that do not have this lettuce, so highly suggest these if you just use like regular iceberg lettuce. It's definitely worth your while to try out some different lettuces. And I have some radish. I don't know if you have ever eaten a radish, but they're those cute little pink balls with some greens hanging off of them. They have a very mild oniony flavor and just kind of adds to a nice crunch. So I like to add those, and it adds such pretty color. So if you can see, I hope you can see on there, this is so vibrant, like such a vibrant bowl. And you can use hot sauce on top of there, which is a great option, but I also love to use, and you can do both of these, I love to do guacamole. So my guacamole is a plantiful guacamole. I have the recipe on my website. I like to add onions and garlic and tomatoes and sometimes peppers, but then also some seasoning. So I season it with smoked paprika and cumin and a little bit of nutritional yeast, and it is so good. So there is the full taco bowl. Hopefully you can see it on the screen there. If not, maybe I can kind of lean it. It's beautiful. And that's kind of the trick too. When you're looking to eat more plants, make your meals and your dishes just as colorful as possible. Even if you don't want to, even if you don't know about the different health benefits of certain vegetables and things like that, you don't need to know. Just the more color, the better. All right, so these peppers and onions are almost done cooking, and that's the beautiful thing about cooking plants, is that it does not take a lot of time. Obviously, I'm making all of these meals here in under an hour. This is just, and some of the stuff is already prepped, but it's very simple. I don't spend that much time in the kitchen. It's not incredibly time consuming, and you can really do whatever you want with it. There's so much range when you're using plants, so much range in cooking in general, but especially with cooking, it's not like baking where you have to follow a recipe to a T or it will turn out really weird or something off. If you don't have something, replace it with something else, or don't use it, or just, get creative with it. I did not know how to cook at all when I first started doing this 5 years ago, so if I can do it, you can do it. All right, so I am going to show you how I start to build my Crunchwraps. And I'm going to show you Crunchwraps in two ways. One is the way that TikTok tells you to make a Crunchwrap, and the other way is that like the Taco Bell crunch wrap. So I just start with my regular burrito. We're gonna start with a Taco Bell crunch wrap. So I start with my burrito, and I'm gonna put the lettuce on the bottom. I like to put the lettuce on the bottom because that helps to keep the hot stuff from like breaking through the burrito. So lettuce goes on the bottom, and then I'm gonna go in with my quinoa taco meat. I also like to put rice on here sometimes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm not going to right now. And then I like to put on, so if I'm doing these peppers and onions, which I can definitely put those on now. We can do a little tower of peppers and onions. Then put some beans on top of here. And then we can put some tomatoes in there if you have any left. I don't. And some radish. I love cilantro, as I said before, so I'm putting that on there. And a little bit of guac if you want to. I want to, so I'm going to. And guac also, I know that a lot of people are hesitant to have a taco without a taco without cheese or something like that. But a taco with guacamole helps to kind of like hold everything together if that's what you're worried about. So use guac. So after I build my little burrito tower, I'm gonna take another burrito wrap, and I'm gonna rip it, just kind of like a fourth of it, and then you don't even need that whole fourth. I'm gonna rip that in half too. So have this little piece here. Oh, and what makes a crunch wrap crunchy? Chips. So you can either use these are blue corn taco shells, but I have not cooked them, so I'm not gonna use them. We're gonna use just regular old tortilla chips. As I said before, it's great to eat whole grains, and it's very beneficial to eat whole grains, but don't stress yourself out about it. These are just regular tortilla chips, and I'm gonna be fine as I eat them. So we're just gonna throw a couple of these chips on top. Don't want to crunch them down, because that takes away from the crunch wrap part. And you're just gonna stick that little piece of burrito wrap right on top. Then I'm going to carefully, very, very carefully, don't rip your burrito wrap. You might want to push it down just a little bit. I'm gonna start in from one of the sides, and I'm just gonna start going around in a circle and just staying in a circle, just folding everything into the center. And there we have it. Not the most perfect that I normally do, but there's the crunch wrap. And I'm going to also toast this. So if you just let it go, it'll probably just open itself. So I like to flip it down on my cutting board while I'm preparing. So I'm gonna take all of these off of the burner. And I'll show you. Oops. Made a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. So when I'm doing this, I like to take a paper towel and just do a quick wipe rather than having to, clean everything. So I'm just gonna do a quick wipe of the pan, because I normally do this all like in one night. So then I take this already used paper towel and I put a drop of olive oil on here, and I'm gonna wipe my pan with it. So just a little bit of oil and wiping your pan. Make sure that you use like one or two, or make sure that you're really folding up that paper towel so that you don't burn yourself when you're doing this, but just wipe the pan with some oil. And I'm gonna carefully pick this back up, make sure it's all good, and just turn this off. How do you turn this back on? I think I hit, oh. Okay. This gets so hot so fast. Okay, so, yeah, that's fine. Maybe I'll turn it down before. All right, so I'm gonna take this and flip it face down onto my pan, very, very carefully. And I normally like to set this kind of on top to just add a little bit of extra weight. And I set my timer for 3 minutes. I do not have a 3-minute timer up here, so we're just gonna hope that I can think about the 3 minutes. I've got a timer set now, so we're gonna check this in 3 minutes. But I'm also going to show you how to make the TikTok versions of the Crunchwrap. And these are really cute. They're also a great way to do like a plant-based quesadilla type of thing. So starting off with another burrito wrap, and this time I'm going to think about this burrito wrap in 4 quadrants. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna split it from the center and take it down to here. So just taking a knife and cutting it right down the middle. So just like this, just a little opening, this stays solid at the top. So now I'm gonna think about filling each of my quadrants with like 1 to 3 taco ingredients and making sure that I put guacamole on the inside of each layer to kind of use as glue. I'll show you what that means. So we're gonna start with some peppers and onions, our cooked peppers and onions. I need a spoon. Do I have another spoon? I think I have a hummus spoon. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna put some greens on the bottom of this before I put the peppers and onions, because when you have something hot, it's nice to have something not hot on the bottom of it to help your burrito wrap stay together. So I'm gonna put some greens, and then I'm gonna put some of these peppers and onions and mushrooms right here. Then in the next quadrant, I'm gonna do a little bit of rice. And we're gonna put some beans on there. These seasoned beans. And did I say what I seasoned the beans with? Same as like taco flavors. I like to do garlic powder, nutritional yeast, smoked paprika, sometimes cumin, sometimes not. And then we can do some more beans. We like beans. Then I'm going to put some tomatoes that I barely have over here in this quadrant. We're gonna put some tomatoes and some quinoa taco meat in here. So you can really fill these quadrants with literally whatever. And then I'm gonna do some radishes over here and maybe a little bit of extra guacamole on that. So this is the way that I start to fold it. So we're gonna start from the bottom. Oh, we are at our 3 minutes. So I'm gonna take this and use my hand kind of on top to stabilize, and then I'm gonna flip it over. And look at that, it's so pretty. That looks just like Taco Bell. So, and without all of the grossness of Taco Bell. So I'm gonna keep this on top of here as a little weight, and we're gonna set that for another 3 minutes. If you are making multiple of these, I suggest that after the first one, maybe setting your timer for 2 minutes, because your pan will be a lot hotter then, so it doesn't take near as long to crisp up. But back to the TikTok one. So I'm gonna take my area here, this bottom area, the bottom quadrant, and I'm gonna flip it up onto the beans and the rice. Now here's where the guac comes in. I'm gonna put a little bit of guac, not a lot, but just a little bit, and it kind of acts as a glue. And I'm gonna flip that over into there. kind of push everything inside. And I'm going to, if I didn't have guac in this bottom quadrant, I would add a little bit more guac on top of this section. But since I have guac here, I'm just going to take this bottom and flip it up. And then we have this beautiful little wrap. And I'm going to toast this as well. This is a great way to keep this all together, is if you put that on the pan as well. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it just kind of helps, I think. What are we at with our timer? Okay, I think I can take this off of here. Let's check out the bottom. Oh yeah, the bottom is perfect. Hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, we've got this whole gorgeous crunch wrap. Stays together. Take it to go. And then I'm gonna show you how I put this on. So I'm gonna start this one also with the opening side down. So we're gonna seal in that bottom. Carefully placing that on top. And put my little spatula on top as a weight. And we're gonna also wait for 2 minutes now, since we've already had one cooking. So in 2 minutes, I'm going to flip this, and yeah, then we're gonna have our crunch wrap, our TikTok crunch wrap done. Another way that I like to eat tacos is obviously just within just a regular taco shell. I like to do the soft tacos and hard tacos. I like to add rice in with the quinoa taco meat. So if I'm doing quinoa taco meat and like a crunchy taco, I'll put the rice down, and then I put the quinoa taco and the quinoa and tofu taco meat on top, and then I just fill the rest with all of the taco ingredients that I like. So pretty simple, but just a different way of incorporating a whole bunch of plants that you probably didn't think of. So just waiting for this to cook. I do smell it kind of burning, so I am going to flip it. It has only been like a minute though, but that just shows, like, if you have a very hot pan, ooh, some of it came out. If you have a very hot pan, you want to make sure that you're paying attention. But yeah, you see how that got nice and crispy there. And you can play around with how you're going to fill your taco. There's definitely better ways to do this so that it doesn't come out. I've made this many times where it doesn't come out of the top, but you got to be a little strategic about it, just with like how much you're adding and the combinations of the quadrants that you're doing. But this is looking pretty crispy and pretty delicious. I wish you could smell it. I don't know if you guys can smell it from there. Really wish that you could. And I think I also mentioned this before, but hot sauce is a great way. I know that some people love like taco sauce. I was a like Ortega taco sauce stan for a very long time. But then after learning all of the ingredients and just reading all of the ingredients, and I'm like, I should probably change up my taco game a little bit. So I do hot sauce and guacamole on almost all of my tacos. I like to get the hot sauce that has the most minimal ingredients. Crystal's a really good one. It's just made with aged cayenne pepper and vinegar and a little bit of salt. So definitely a great one. But just check your hot sauces and look for ones with minimal ingredients. So I'm gonna take this off of here. Hopefully I can show you what it looks like. It's a little hot, but it's like a triangle kind of wrap that you have, and absolutely gorgeous on the inside here. And now it's all staying together pretty well, so you don't have to worry about it like falling apart. Obviously, when you're eating plant food, it is probably gonna fall apart, but toasting it makes it stay together a little more. All right, so that is my plant-based taco night ideas. I hope that you guys got some ideas of how to incorporate more plants into there. My very last thing that I'm going to do, because I've a sweet tooth, Joey has a sweet tooth, my roommates used to have a sweet tooth, so we had to get some desserts out here. So my favorite dessert to bring with me to family parties, because it's a big hit, is plant-based, well, they're not even, you don't want to say plant-based, but they're date peanut butter eggs. So I know that a lot of times people like to do the date peanut butter eggs and either roll them in sugar, that's a very like Lancaster County thing, or they like to dip them in chocolate or dip them in caramel or something like that. That's really not necessary. I had been intimidating to make these because I thought that that's what you had to do, but once I just tried it, you can make it very simply with just dates and peanut butter. So I take a date, and this is a whole date. You can get pitted dates at the store if you want to, but I like to get everything as least processed as possible, so I'll take the pit out myself. And sometimes on dates there's also a little cap, so you have to take that off. So you can either just, when I'm doing a date for a smoothie, I just rip it open and it's fine, but I like to take a knife. It's my butter knife. Yeah. It's okay, I can use this. So I'm just gonna take my knife and make a little slit down the center of it and pop it right open, and there's the seed. I have seen people make like saving these date seeds and making like date seed coffee and things like that. They save them, dry them, roast them, and then grind them up, and apparently it's delicious. I don't know if it's great, I haven't tried it, but something if you want to do to save your waste. And so after you have your date open, I'm just going to take a little bit of peanut butter. Oh, I have it right here. And this peanut butter, what I would love to say about peanut butter is that also look for minimal ingredients. Peanut butter only means peanuts. So this is, I think the brand is Crazy Richards or something like that. It says 100% peanuts on the front, but as I love to tell people, do not believe things that you read on the front of packaging, and especially with plant-based packaging. Look at the ingredients list. So on the ingredients list, it just says peanuts. So that's what we're going with. And natural peanut butter and things of that nature, natural peanut butter is also a good way to start looking for a better peanut butter, but the word natural is very highly unregulated, so not something that you can really bank off of. So this peanut butter will be a little runnier, but that's totally okay. We're just gonna fill, and you don't need that much peanut butter. I normally only do like 2 drops of peanut butter into there, but today I'm gonna do a little bit more so it shows. So I like to do it and then squeeze it so that the peanut butter is kind of coming out the top. And you can then, if you're gonna eat these like very soon, you can stick them in the freezer and wait for like 5 to 10 minutes and then take them out, and then they're nice and set, and then the peanut butter is not so like runny. But you can also put them in the fridge if you're gonna be eating these like in the next day, like if you're prepping them for a party or something like that, or if you're gonna be eating them later on in the day, just stick them in the fridge and then they'll set fine. But yeah, this is all there is to it, and it really, believe it or not, tastes like a peanut butter egg. So highly recommend these. It took me a long time to try these, but they're a great dessert, and they're also a great just kind of like if you need a snack throughout the day or something like that. Dates are super great for energy, so just like a couple of like 2 to 3 of these can go a long way, can keep you nice and full. If you have never had dates before, I know that some people that are like adverse to raisins are really not trying to have dates. They don't taste the same. Dates are a lot sweeter. It does have that like raisiny texture, and it does kind of look like a giant raisin, but they're very different. And when you're making dates in something, like if you're cooking with them, they're great for like sweetening and things like that. I think I said that in the smoothie aspect of it. And there's also date syrup out there, so if you're looking for a good honey alternative or a good sweetener, date syrup is awesome. It's just, again, the ingredients list is just dates, and it works just the same as like a honey or agave replacement, whatever. And it's just dates. All right, so that's all that I have for you today. I hope that you guys learned something and are inspired to add more plants to your daily lives, and not just all of these vegan replacements and things like that. Though they are tasty, plants is where it's at. And if I can leave you with anything, it's just a reminder that it is never too late or too early to change your life. You can do this. Everybody, I have seen people reverse MS. I have seen people reverse cancer. I've seen people reverse their heart disease, and it is so possible to live a very exciting and fulfilled life. And I'm getting emotional over it right now, but it's just amazing. And I wish that I had this information when I was younger and when my mom was still here and when my grandparents were still here. So since they are not anymore, I'm here to share all of this information with you, and I hope that you enjoyed it. You can connect with me further on WFPBme.com. I also have a TikTok, WFPB_me, and an Instagram as well. Tons of plant-based recipes, resources, and motivation. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed yourselves. I also have a stand today, so please come check out my stand. It's straight back and 3 tenths over. It has like a red overhang. And yeah, I'm gonna be selling, I am currently selling t-shirts and some stickers and some makeup bags, and they all have these adorable plant-based merch on this. My shirt says, diseases run in families because of because of eating habits, because eating habits run in families. I don't know what my saying says, but that's the gist of it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, please come and talk to me over at my tent. I don't know how much time I have here if anybody would want to ask any questions, but definitely can do it more intimately over there. Thank you for having me.
For whole food plant-based recipes, tips, resources, and more, check out WFPBme.com.